Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. OP, there's nothing petty about this. You protected the company from a train wreck employee and yourself from having to deal with the mewling jerk. Well done. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Rejected former boss's nephew's job application. Used to work at a small construction company, and her old boss's nephew, who was like 48 at the time, worked with us and generally made everyone's lives miserable. He complained about everything constantly, always angry, typical short, angry little guy, brought his wife back from the Philippines, she hated his guts, etc. The kind of guy who would pull a gun on someone getting a frisbee from his property, was in the military and constantly talked about what a bad dude he was. Really sad crap, honestly. Anyway, such an entitled effing a-hole, and he treated everyone with such disdain because his uncle owned the place. So at some point, I lose my job, and I suspect it's because he's been talking crap to his uncle about me. The way they fired me was weird and sudden, this just isn't working out type of thing. So I go across the street and get a job at the competition. Better pay, better position. Like a year later, I hear he's been fired from his job by his uncle for some egregious bullcrap. I think he was trying to get another coworker fired and called OSHA on them, but ended up getting the whole company in trouble and fined. So I'm sitting at my desk one day, and my boss comes to me and says, "Hey, you used to work at blank, right? You remember this guy? He's applying for a job here." I take one look at the application, stare at my boss, dead in the eyes, and say, "If you hire this guy, it'll be the worst mistake you ever made." He nods. "Yikes, glad we spoke. Thanks." Garbage the app. F you, Dale. Dale's the type of guy to get kicked out of military basic training because he punched a drill sergeant in the face, then claim he was a military hero. And our second story. Scream, rant, curse. Sure thing, ma'am. Now, once again, how can I help you? All right, it's been a while since this, so I figure it's time to share. This woman, my people, she was the mega Karen. She was the most Karen I'd seen in my long and storied years in customer service. The Karenest Karen that ever did Karen. The harbinger of the Karen-pocalypse. I met her first on the sales floor, having had to approach her and her family, a perpetually guilty-looking husband and 2 quiet kids, 4 times about refusing to wear a certain facial accessory. But this story really begins when she goes to check out. Middle of the day, and I've just finished with a customer when I hear a page for a manager to come to the checkout desk. There were 3 of us, myself and 2 upper managers. The other 2 were at the back of the store, so I let them know I'll go up. When I get there, I see our lead and one of our cashiers by the computer. The cashier, let's call her Sarah, is near tears. Sarah's a friend. I didn't learn until much later that Karen had called her a effing B-word. Yep. "Hey, hun, what's going on?" "I can't deal with this," Sarah hisses. "If that woman says one more word to me, I swear to God." "What's going on?" "We can't find her membership," the lead, Jen, says, and she's pissed. Now, our membership is entirely electronic. We tell our customers the best way to keep it available is to simply download our app and log in with their account info, which keeps their barcode handy to scan whenever they shop. If they choose not to, we can look up their membership through our computers with their email. Jen has the customer name and email written down on a paper slip and says they've tried to look it up multiple times. I look over and, "Oh, hello, unclean spirit, we meet again, Lady of Darkness." All right, hang here for a sec while I go talk to her. Jen and Sarah are okay with this plan. I walk over to the register where Karen's waiting and, in my most obnoxiously pleasant customer service voice, call out, "Oh, hello again." I'm pleased to say that Karen looked like she died a little inside as she watched me approach her for the 5th time. "I understand we're having some difficulty finding your membership." "Not to worry, we'll get it all sorted out in a moment. Could you just verify this is the correct email for me?" Karen stares for a moment before opening her mouth to unleash her hellfire like a California Barbie turned Charizard. "Are you effing kidding me? Are all of you people so effing stupid? I've been over this a dozen effing times with them already. You're the only ones who have this issue every effing time. Why can't you just effing beep the beep beep?" Static white noise, more cursing. Maybe the insinuation that my mother's a goat? Who the hell knows? I mostly just stopped paying attention as this continued for a solid 20 seconds or so. Jesus effing Christ. I see her pause for breath and take the opportunity to jump in, again with obnoxiously pleasant mode still fully engaged. Understand, ma'am, and I'm very sorry. Now, could you verify this email for me, please? Karen stops. Karen stares. I stare back. Karen's eye may have developed a twitch. Sarah snorts. Through clenched teeth, Karen hisses out her email, confirming that yes, it was written down correctly. Thank you so much. Now I'll go see what I can find for you. I turn to head back to the computer and leave the Karen stewing in her funk and muttering angrily. While I'm looking into her account, one of the other managers, Val, hurries over, apparently having heard Karen shouting from across the store. What's happened? I look over at Val and sum it up as simply as I can. Lady needs meds. Val requires a few more details than that, though, so I explain what's going on and say I'm going to do a deep dive into her orders to find her membership and figure out what's wrong with the account. I'm just going to discount her purchases and get her out of here. She's being way too disruptive, Val says. She walks over to Karen and opens her mouth to tell her exactly that, but Karen cuts her off with another geyser eruption of hate. Val stares at her wide-eyed and tries to cut in to let her know that we just really want her gone and will do nearly anything at this point, are just going to comp her a discount. But Karen just does not stop. Val turns to me and mouths, "Call Jean," our highest level manager working that day. While poor Jean and Val are trying to deal with her Karenship, I'm continuing to look into her membership, looking through the orders that are linked with her name until I finally find the payment for the membership. There's a typo in the email linked to it. As I bring up the details on the membership, I hear the Karenator screech, "I want an effing refund for this useless effing membership." Her annual membership is set to expire next week. Eventually, guilty husband comes back into the store. Apparently, he ran the moment Karen smelled blood in the water and asks her what the hell she's doing. "Why do you always act like this?" He yells back, "This wouldn't keep happening if you just downloaded the GD app like they said we should in the beginning." Wonder how many of these husbands are at their wits' end with these creatures. And our next story. I need a ride to place within walking distance. Happened back in the spring of 2019. My wife and I bought a house recently, and sometime in the spring, I got the idea to wash our cars. It's weird, but we were both pretty psyched that we had a driveway to do this all in, so we got all the stuff we needed and got ready to head outside to wash our cars. In the span of what was about 5 minutes between my wife opening our garage door and backing her car out, and me grabbing our Bluetooth speaker, she's approached by a man walking down the street. He waved, and her being a sweet person, she waves back. He introduced himself as a neighbor. She asked him where he lived nearby, and he deflected. Before I made it into the garage, he had asked her if she could give him a ride to a lake nearby. When I finally walked out, he was standing right next to her while she was Googling cab companies since we weren't planning on going anywhere that day. After us going through the options, we settled on offering to get him an Uber because he was really starting to make my wife uncomfortable, but she still wanted to help. It's at that point he asked if we could get him some water and if we had somewhere he could sit down. I asked her to go get him a cup of water because she was getting visibly nervous at this point, so she does that. This is when he started getting uppity with us. While she was inside, he started asking more and more about somewhere to sit, but I explained several times that I didn't have any seats I could offer him and I wasn't going to invite him inside. I pointed to some bricks outside he could sit on, but that was a firm no from him. It was too hot out for him on this scorching 72-degree day. Finally, I just opened the rear door of my car and let him sit there. My wife comes out with a glass of water, and he asks if it's filtered water. I tell him yes, that we keep filtered water in the fridge, but that's not filtered enough for him. He wants bottles, spring water, or RO, not filtered tap water. I'm beyond annoyed at this point and just ready to get him away from my house as quickly and as far as possible, since now he's past just scaring my wife, but he's now demanding things from us. I didn't want to anger him with my pregnant wife standing there, so I go inside, grab my keys, and tell him I'll just take him where he wants to go. I quickly learn I made a mistake because the entire ride went like this. Man, turn the AC down. Man, fumbling around with the seat. How can I make the seat lean back? Me, I need you to sit up so you don't get hurt if we get in an accident. Besides, I don't remember exactly where the lever is to do that. Please don't mess with it. Man, every car seats could go back. So how do I do it? Me, I don't know, but we're almost there, so please leave it alone. Man, I need a place to stay. Can you look up apartments here that are below $500 a month? He had his own smartphone he wouldn't get off of the whole time he was texting people, finding a hand sanitizer pen I have in the car and messing with it before realizing he can't write with it. Thankfully, it's only about a 10-minute drive to where he wanted to go, and I drop him off in a very public area. In hindsight, I wouldn't have helped him at all, especially since he clearly only approached our house when my wife was alone outside, and he seemed very irritated with me the whole time. And our next story. My townhome neighbor has been stealing my electricity for at least a year. I live in a townhome community, rental. Each unit has their own utility meter. In the past year, my electricity bills, especially in the summer, were much higher than usual. I've lived here for 4 years, but the summer electric bills last year were nearly $500 a month compared to my usual $120 to $150 a month from other summers. I'm a penny pincher, so I rarely turn on my central AC, turn lights off, and unplug things when I leave for more than a day. My neighbors, though, are constantly blasting their air conditioning. I can hear it when the central air unit outside is on. I walked out my back door this afternoon for the first time in over a year. There's not much there, just overgrown grass and mud, so I rarely feel the urge to go out there. But I saw my neighbor had plugged their central AC unit into my outside outlet. So in other words, I've been paying for their air conditioning for an undetermined amount of time. But if my electric bills are any indication, at least a year. So I took photos of everything as evidence, then asked the cops to come around and make a police report. After that, I sued them in small claims. I got enough money to cover my high bills and have some money left over to spend on myself. And our last story. Steal a phone from our store? We'll take your car instead. So this wasn't me, but happened at one of the retail cell phone stores I manage a few hours ago. We put out demo phones for customers to play with. The funny thing about these phones is that they're locked, cannot be used, have no real value. From time to time, a dumb thief will come in the store and take one of these phones. Today was one of those times. This particular store is usually slow, so having 1 or 2 employees working at a time is normal. Today, one was at lunch, so only 1 employee was in the store. In walk 2 guys. One guy is engaging with the employee, asking questions, acting like an interested buyer. The second is looking at the demo phones, but in reality is taking it off the security stand. The employee notices the guy has removed the demo phone from the security device and turns to look at him. The thief makes a run towards the door, and unbelievably, the employee tackles the thief. The two roll around, exchanging blows outside the store. It was a completely crazy scene. The good part about all this is that the thief got away with the phone, but in the process of wrestling with the employee, he dropped his car keys out of his pocket. The employee picked up the car keys and went inside the store, locked the door, and called police. To keep a longer story short, the cops came and towed the thief's 2016 Honda Accord. So he got a play phone that's as good as worthless and lost a good car. Also, the cops were easily able to identify the thief and put a warrant out for his arrest. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.